Yeah, Vygotsky lived a very short life actually. He just was alive for 38 years. His theory is more social, cultural, cognitive theory. So it's not so deterministic. Where for PIG, it's like stages and growth, and the more you have action, the more growth will take place. For Vygotsky, it was the environment and the people and the society that sort of affects cognitive development, right? So he thought of cognitive development as a collaborative process, which has then become the center point of most educational views, right? Where first thing he tackled was in terms of language. Uh, First, so according to his theory, language and thought are separate, right? And then slowly they start to merge because language begins to be used for thinking and then later on for social communication, right? So they're initially separate things. So thought is engaging on its own and language is engaging on its own. So one of the examples he gave was where children don't really care about what they are saying. They'll just speak whatever they think. They'll speak, right? Um, so according to Vygotsky, that's the thing that where they're not thinking that they need to keep, they can just think and not speak, right? So the independent processes which are not related but they are engaging in the same activity, and then slowly over time, by the age of 3 4 they come together and the child realizes that it can think in language and not necessarily have to speak, right? By 3 4 5 years of age they start to get better at it. So children, you'll notice, will be talking to oneself. Like if you do something wrong, then they'll say, I don't like this uncle or I don't like this aunt, right? They'll be talking to themselves, but they'll say it directly. So that's something. Then there is, for children at that age, around 50% of all spoken communication is talking to themselves, right? This is a transitionary phase where uh, the talk to the self will transition into talking to other people, and they'll also learn abilities of self-regulation and control, right? This is when a higher level of cognitive development can then take place. Now this is something you all know, where the zone of proximal development is where a child can do something completely, and if it gets help then it might do better at that particular thing, right? So that's the zone of proximal development. So um, for example, all of you have done your masters in psychology, most of you cognitive or counseling or clinical. The idea is that now you finished your master's, right? You are at the zone of proximal development in terms of growing as clinicians, right? So if you have support and if you have a supervisor and all of that, then your growth will be better compared to if you don't have one, right? Um, and years of experience will sort of improve your zone of proximal development, and you can become excellent therapists, right? Which at the when you just finish your master's, of course, you're not. Then you have scaffolding, right? This is the person who helps. So it's like a scaffold, like a tent, right? Where the person who helps you get better is providing the scaffolding. But the more knowledgeable other is the person, right? So the more knowledgeable other, MKO is the expert. The scaffolding is the situation that they create to help you, and the zone of proximal development is the amount that you can grow with that help. Um, the MQ need not be an expert, but just someone who knows a particular process better than other people and can guide the group, right? This has become the basis for educational institutions. All group work is basically based on this, where um, you put people in groups, hoping that someone knows better and they can guide everyone, and everyone can grow together, right? But some universities and colleges don't encourage it because they, and even parents actually, even children to an extent don't like group activities because they think that they put more work than other people and why should they get the same marks and all of that. But again, it really depends on what the objective is. If the objective is to give marks, then yeah, group work will never work. But if the objective is to encourage collaborative learning and everyone sort of learns together, then it's a fantastic way to do things, right? Um, in terms of Vygotsky, again, culture plays a very important role. So language, when you learn language, what kind of, how fast private speech becomes public speech or social speech, um, your scaffolding, more knowledgeable other, how education institutions work, all of that in terms of cognition is explained really well. Emphasizes the importance of teaching, focus on language, says observation, you should not do so much, you should have more learning methods. Says little about biological contributions to cognition, so there's no talk about any form of age growth related to cognitive development. Uh, and vague in explanation of change, meaning that you don't know when somebody's cognitive development has taken place. It's just a slow process that linearly will take place, right? As you engage more with the environment, which is not really true because there are points in time where maturity takes place, right?